Having worked at a bank for over 5 years, I noticed a common pattern when it came to people's overall spending habits and difficulties with saving money. So today I wanted to share my simple and unique budget that has allowed me to strike a balance between saving money and still enjoying life. Expense breakdown. I break down expenses into 4 categories: essential, non-variable, essential, variable, debt, and discretionary or non-essential purchases. Essential non-variable expenses are rent or housing payments, health insurance, car insurance, public transit passes, childcare, internet services, all things that are required to live or pen to paper agreements of things in our life that the monthly expense will remain consistent. Essential variable expenses are gas, your electric bill, groceries, medical bills, all things that are required to live or pen to paper agreements of things in our life that the monthly expense will defer from month to month. Debt. This would be like a student loan, auto loan, personal loan, credit card, pen to paper agreements that we have to honor. And lastly, we have non-essential or discretionary expenses. These are streaming services, entertainment, dining out, hobbies, gym memberships, shopping. These are all things that are not required for survival and are not pen to paper agreements we have to adhere to in the long run. Track expenses. My philosophy around a budget is very similar to that of a diet. My goal is to get myself to where I feel comfortable financially, but I don't want to have to use this budget or a budget for the rest of my life. I want it to become a part of the way in which I live, the way in which I see the world and make my decisions. So what I began doing, and what I recommend, is to get the last 3 months worth of statements and to get 4 different colored highlighters, pencils, pens, whatever, just to be able to differentiate different purchases. What I would start with is the essential non-variable purchases, because these are going to be the most expensive and the least occurring throughout your monthly statement. And what I would do is I would break it into 2 different brackets: the locked in or negotiate. So let's take rent, for example. The likelihood is you will not be able to negotiate your rent. You're probably stuck in it for a year long or a year and a half long term. So we would just go ahead and put that in locked in. But what about car insurance? The likelihood is that you are probably overpaying on car insurance. If you just go to the competitor, most likely they can knock down a considerable amount from your monthly payment. So that would go into the negotiate. The goal is to get all of your essential non-variable purchases into the locked in portion. So that way we don't have to think about it whatsoever. And then we'll grab another highlighter and we'll go to the essential variable. We're going to highlight all of these, and the easiest thing to do is to just find the average of what all of the grocery purchases, all of the electrical bills, all of the gasoline purchases, because they don't differentiate too much. You're just going to be able to just group it all together and have a nice lump sum. Then we're going to add the total of the locked in essential non-variable and the essential variable purchases. And we're going to subtract this from our income. Now we have an actual number to know, for me to be able to live here on Earth, this is what the ideal lump sum number is going to be. This allows me to be able to go get groceries, have gas, be able to live in my apartment or my home, and to have just somewhat of a comfortable lifestyle. And the reason why I love doing it this way so much is it allows you to be able to see what your expenses would be like without debt. It allows you to put a lot of emphasis behind the burden that debt can create. And I'm not like Dave Ramsey, where I believe all debt is the worst thing on earth. But I do believe that there's a lot of benefits when you can limit your exposure to debt. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab another highlighter and we're going to go through all of the things in which we are indebted to on our statement. And once again, we're going to put it into subcategories. The first one we're going to do is non-variable interest rate debt. These are things that are not going to change month to month. Typically, this is going to be like your car loan or federal student loan payments. And once again, we're going to do locked in and negotiate. I don't know if you can negotiate the interest rates on a federal student loan. If you know that answer, that's great. If not, it's worth taking a look at. It might not be the best time to refinance your car, but it's worth taking a look at and then putting it in the locked in category. Then we're going to go to the most important thing out of all of the things that we're going to prioritize, and that is variable interest rate debt. This is the worst debt to have. And this is going to be like your credit card debt, a home equity line of credit, private student loans, a personal line of credit. These are things that can make monthly expenses so much more expensive in high interest rate environments, which we are in. So now that you're able to see, this is how much I'm spending on non-variable and variable debt, we're gonna add that total together. And now we're gonna subtract that from previous expenses, the essential expenses. And then you're able to see, this is how much I'm having to spend month to month without doing anything that I enjoy doing, without doing any discretionary purchases. These are things that I have pen to paper agreed. I now have to honor paying this. And these are things that allow me to just live my life. The important thing is once again, the goal is going to be that your expenses with debt included is still less than what your income is going to be. If it's very similar and you've already scaled back as much as you possibly can, this is when I would recommend either increasing your skills to be able to make more money, to maybe try to get a raise, maybe try to get a different job that just instantly gives you a pay raise because you went to a different company, or maybe get some sort of side hustle or something. You can only save and restrict so much in your life to where just having more income just makes all the difference. But the goal is to now have smaller expenses than you do your income. And this allows you to see how much you're spending on non-discretionary items. Now, the typical American spends $44,000 a year. 18,000 of that is on non-essential items. The way that I create my budget, the focus is on that non-essential items. I don't want to have to negotiate the way in which I'm buying groceries or the apartment that I live in. I want to focus on where that 18,000 is going. I also want to focus on the variable debt. So now that we're in the non-essential discretionary purchases, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab a highlighter and we're going to highlight every single one of our non-discretionary purchases to be able to allow you to see that you're probably making a lot more than you've realized. That's typically what happens is a lot of these smaller $5, $10, $15, $20 purchases, it feels small at the moment, so we do it frequently and it causes it to just stack up over time. And as we begin to do all of these, the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna get a pen or a pencil, and I want you to cross through all of the things that do not provide value to you in your life. So if you consistently are buying coffee just because you're buying coffee and it's not really providing value, you can make it at home, you don't really enjoy it, you crossing it out is actually what is a writer technique whenever people write. And the action of crossing it out is called a strike through. I believe that's what it's called. And the strike through is I'm making an adjustment and then you include what the change is going to be. And what I liked doing is that this created an action with my clients. They're crossing it out of their life and they're putting what's going to provide value instead. This one particular thing I found created the most difference with my clients, actively eliminating something from their life. So the goal would be hopefully that you scratch out a lot of the non-essential discretionary purchases that you're doing. And then you're going to be left with what I call the essential non-essential purchases. These are things that provide value to your life. And then the way that I like to do is, can I do this in a way that's more affordable? For myself personally, I love to go watch movies. It is like, I love the cinematic experience. Going to a movie, the cinematic experience is freaking expensive. So I found that if you go on Tuesdays in most cinemas, you get $5 movies. But if you actually go in and buy the ticket, you can get it for like $4.25. So that allows me to still go and enjoy movies, but now I'm saving a considerable amount of money. Another thing would be like, I love to go bowling. So I used to spend a ton of money on going bowling. But I found if you go Sunday nights and Monday nights at my local bowling alley, I can do all you can bowl for $5. And I would bring my own shoes, so I wouldn't have to pay for that. So now I can actually bowl more and save a considerable amount of money. So in most things that we enjoy doing, there's a lot of different ways that you can actually save money in doing so. The next thing is how many things can you do in your life that are completely free? When was the last time that you tried to go and just go for a walk around the park, or go swim in a local lake if you have something like that, or go to a library, or do all these different things that a lot of times we take for granted because we feel that the limit or the not having a price tag makes it too easy to achieve, so we don't want to do it. We feel like the restriction of a price tag makes it more enjoyable. In reality, that's not the case. The goal is to get your non-essential discretionary purchases so low that you're practically spending nothing on it, but you're actually enjoying your life more. So if you think about the average person spending $44,000, if you can get $10,000 to your non-essential discretionary, you're now saving an extra $8,000 a year. This is the way that I try to curate my budget, is to focus on, I spend a lot of money on things that do not provide value to me. How can I curate it into where I'm spending money on only things that provide value to me, to where I can enjoy that substantially more? My philosophy behind saving money. So ideally, we're at the point where we have some funds left over. We've paid our monthly essential expenses. We've paid our monthly debt expenses. And the reason that I prioritize the non-essential or discretionary purchases before saving money is I personally believe that if it takes you a little bit longer to save money, but you are honed in and you are fully enjoying your life and you know exactly what it is that provides joy to you, well, in my opinion, that's worth the cost. I also believe that that's going to increase your likelihood that you're going to have a more fulfilling, stronger financial journey in the long haul, because it's decreasing your likelihood that you're going to cheat on the budget. If you are going super healthy with your diet, the higher likelihood is that on Saturday, you're going to have a couple pieces of cake, or you're going to go into the fridge and you're going to grab some things you probably shouldn't have eaten. So I typically like to just eat an Oreo or two a day to just kind of satiate that need. So I personally believe that it's more beneficial to be able to enjoy your life than it is to save money, but the goal is to do it responsibly. So what do we do with the leftover funds? Well, I like to do what's called task saving. Now, we've all heard about having 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved in cash, but in reality, having 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in cash is very difficult to just all of a sudden do. So what I like to do is what's called task saving, which is saving money for a particular task. So say like, what if your car battery goes out? I want to save enough money to be able to afford my car battery going out. Once you've done that, you've saved up to task 1. And you want to increase the tier by just a little bit. So then I want to be able to save up if one of my tires goes out. So now I have enough money to be able to afford two new tires. Then the next tier, and you continuously go until all of a sudden you have 1 month's worth of expenses saved. Being able to have these little categories instead of 1 whole month's worth of cash is way easier. I also just want to take a break to say that it takes time. There's no rush. So if it takes you a while to even get a month, that's fine. You're moving in a forward direction, and that's very important. Once you've gotten to that 3 to 6 month range, well, I would recommend that you go to maybe some other financial YouTubers, or you go to some people that you trust and maybe find, not financial advice, some investments that you would like to do. I personally would say invest in yourself, create skill sets to where you can now go into the job market and make more money, make the budget even more beneficial to you. If you have even more money that you can do things with, I would say invest in another sort of asset. So this is kind of the way that I set the budget up as a whole, prioritizing what provides value to you the most by eliminating that $18,000 a year on non-essential items. So the 2 things that we want to focus on the most is what provides joy to you in your life, and how do I get rid of the variable debts? Because that is not a place to be. Personal accountability. What I love so much about a budget or a financial philosophy is it puts you very much in control in a situation that is very difficult to navigate. The economy, making money, saving money, all of these things in themselves are very challenging to understand. But a budget is a great way to be able to put the guidelines in what direction you want to go, what provides the most value to you, and the way in which you can live your most genuine self, financially wise. Now, I hope that this budget helps, but feel free to mix and match other budgets. Find ones that work the best for you. A budget, again, is not a bad thing to have, but the goal is to not live by a budget or let a budget rule you. It's about becoming the way in which you see life, the way in which you make your decisions, the way in which you can be, financially healthy and wise. I hope that this provided some value to you. I know that up front, this takes a lot of work. This is a lot of paper and writing and all these different things. But this budget, just with my own experience, I found has made the most impact. It is like starting at like step 3 because you've done so much physical steps. It's engaged you so much. It really helps. So I hope that it provides value to you guys. Thank you so much for your time and listening to me talk about these different things. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Since I realize the images seen here tonight may be wretchedly hideous, I am going to tell you what you can do to end this travesty. You can donate 1 penny to me, Mr. Krabs, also known as Mr. Krabs the man who doesn't have one.